Hi, in this video we're going to talk about adding real numbers. And what we mean by real numbers is now our numbers can not only be positive, they can also be negative. And we basically have two rules, the same signs. If they have the same signs, we just add them together and keep the sign. If they have different signs, rule number 2 says that we subtract the smaller from the larger, we mean numerically, forget the signs, and keep the sign of the larger. So let's go through some examples. Here we have 4 plus 8. You've been doing this for a long time now, but notice that they're both positive. Okay, no sign means that they're both positive, so we're going to follow rule number 1, just like you've always done. We add them together and keep the sign. 4 plus 8 is 12, and that's a positive 12, okay, because they're both positive. Let's look at what happens when they're both negative. Minus 3 and a minus 9. Well, they both have the same sign, a negative sign. So we're just going to add them together. 3 plus 9 is 12. But now we're going to keep the sign, okay? So it's actually a negative 12. All right. If they have different signs, we subtract the smaller from the larger and keep the sign of the larger. So here I've got different signs. My 9 is positive, but I'm adding a negative 3. So I'm going to actually subtract 3 from 9, and I get 6, and now I keep the sign of the larger number. Well, 9 is larger than 3, so I'm going to keep this sign. Over here, I've got minus 7 and a positive 14. Again, I have two different signs, so I'm going to subtract 7 from 14. I actually get 7, and it's going to be positive. I keep the sign of the larger. 14 is actually larger, so I keep that sign. This one, I have two negative signs, so I'm just going to add them together. 3 and 25 yields 28, and I keep the sign that they both have, which is a negative. Okay, and now I have two fraction examples. And once again, here I've got a positive and a negative, so I'm going to subtract the smaller from the larger and keep the sign of the larger. However, in this case, when I add and or subtract fractions, I have to find a common denominator. So I'm looking for the smallest number that both 2 and 4 go into. That is actually 4. So I've got to convert 1/2, okay, to something over 4. All right. So 2 times 2 yields 4, so I multiply the denominator by 2 to get 4, and therefore I need to multiply my numerator by 2. So 1/2 is actually equal to 2 over 4. Now I can replace 1/2 here with 2 over 4, okay, and this is actually positive, right? So it's positive 2 over 4, negative 3 over 4. Two different signs, so I subtract the smaller from the larger. 3 minus 2 yields 1. And remember, when we're adding and or subtracting fractions, I just keep my denominator. So the 4 just comes along. And I do the operation in the numerator, so that's why I said 3 minus 2 is 1. But now I keep the sign of the larger. 3/4 is larger than 2/4, so this is going to actually be a negative 1/4. Let's try another one. Here I've got minus 3 over 5 and minus 2 over 3. Well, I'm just going to add them together and keep the sign, but I have to get a common denominator. So I'm going to have to convert minus 3 over 5, all right, to something, and minus 2 over 3 to something. The smallest number that both 5 and 3 go into is 15. So that is going to be my denominator. To get 15 out of 5, I got to multiply by 3. Whatever I do in the denominator, I've got to do in the numerator, and make sure you keep your sign. So this is going to be minus 9 over 15. Okay, so minus 3 over 5 becomes minus 9 over 15. And now we need to convert minus 2/3 to something over 15. I've got minus 2 over 3, and I want that to be equal to something over 15. So I multiply 3 by 5 to get 15, so I need to do that same operation in the numerator. 2 by 5, keep your sign, so it's minus 10. Okay, so I've got minus 9 over 15 plus negative 10 over 15. Once again, when we're adding fractions, we keep the denominator, so it's going to be 15, and we do the operation on the top. I see that we have the same signs, so I'm just going to add them together. 9 and 10 is 19, and I'm going to keep the sign, which is negative. So that is how we add real numbers.